ओमज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरोन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पदान् सहगण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So welcome all devotees back again. We are continuing our series on Bhagavad Gita. We are at the 7th chapter. We are discussing this based on Sripad Yamunacharya's Gitartha Sangraha as well as Ramanujacharya's commentary. So to begin with, as always, I'll begin with the verse that Yamunacharya very beautifully summarizes. So here is the third verse of his Gitartha Sangraha, where he's summarizing the middle 6 chapters. Okay, Madhyame Bhagavat Tattva Yatatma Avapti Siddhaye Jnana Karma Abhinirvrityo Bhakti Yoga Prakirtitaha. Okay, so he says in the middle 6 chapters, Bhagavat Tattva, Krishna is speaking about Bhagavat Tattva Yatatma Avapti Siddhaye. Jnana Karma Abhinirvrityo. That means Jnana and Karma are still there, right? So it is on top of that. It is not cancelling it. Bhakti Yoga Prakirtitaha. Right. So that is how he presents, this particular theme. And now the 7th chapter specifically that we are looking. Yeah. स्वयात्यात्मं प्रकृतस्य तिरोधिः शरणागतिः भक्तवेदः प्रबुद्धस्य श्रेष्ठं सप्तम उच्यते. So Saptama is the 7th chapter. So Yamunacharya is very beautifully in this verse summarizing the contents of the 7th chapter by saying that there are 5 themes in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Swayatatmyam. Okay, that is his own nature, glories, etc. So that is the first part of the 7th chapter. Prakritasya tirodhihi. And Prakritasya tirodhihi means what stops us from understanding his nature. So if you see the 7th chapter, last time we discussed in 7.12. So if you remember the first part of the 7th chapter, Krishna is talking about his greatness, right? He starts off, the initial 3 verses of the 7th chapter are kind of introductory. But then from, the 4th verse onwards, Krishna is speaking about his glories, what all he possesses. He says that I possess everything that is achit in the world and everything that is chit also I possess. Correct? He says, Bhumi Rapo Analo Vayur Kammano Buddhirevacha. All these 8 things, Apareyam, these are the Apara Prakriti. All this is owned by me. And then I own all the Chit Shakti also, all the Jivatmas. They are also mine. And anything that you see which is a combination in the 6th verse is saying everything is mine. So basically, Swayatyatmyam, his glories is, the Lord's greatness is being spoken about, right? He owns everything. And then he's saying, Matta Parataram Nanyat Kinti Dasijanante. There is nothing superior to him. He says superior to me, like that he says, right? And then someone could ask, okay, but it seems that in the world there are so many things which are not connected to Krishna, right? Someone may say there is water which is there is the light of the sun, the moon, so many things are there in Prakriti. We even see every human being and everybody in this world having certain capabilities. It doesn't seem that all this is God only. So there Krishna is saying, no, all that is also me. Okay, as in he's saying that the essence of that is me. So the taste in water, the light of the sun, the capability in a man. So that is actually a very interesting verse, which is so much, we can ponder on that, right? Shabda ke paurusham nrishu, the ability in man. Prabhupada translates paurusham as ability. Ability, the capability, the ability in man is also him. Okay, so when we see anybody, when we see someone doing something extraordinary, we need to understand that he is representing a speck of the absolute. So this is Swayatatmya. He went on speaking that till about 7.12, where he said that everything in this world yeah. So Krishna is saying that everything in this world, which is comprising of the three modes, everything is his. Okay, so in this way, Swayatyatmyam is covered. The first part of the 7th chapter, the first theme, is spoken until verse number 12. Right? At this point, someone may get a question: if the Supreme Lord is so expansive, as in he is there in everything in the three worlds, which is comprising of the three modes, it should be so easy to understand him. Why is it that we are unable to understand him? So that is why the next theme comes about, Prakritasya Tirodihi. That means how this Prakriti or material nature is blocking our understanding. So yes, as such, we should very easily be able to understand the Supreme Lord, but no, Prakriti is going to cover our understanding. Okay, so that is the second theme here. Then immediately the question will come, okay, if Prakriti is stopping our understanding, how can we understand him then? So Sharanagatihi, which is 7.14, Mameve Prapadyante, that verse, 7.14. So by surrendering unto him, one can actually understand him. Then Bhakta Vedaha, this is actually the most important kind of this theme we will elaborate a lot today, because this theme is going to continue to the 8th chapter. This is 7.16, Chaturvida Bhajante Mam, the 4 types of devotees. Bhakta Vedaha, that means who are the 4 types of Sharanagatas or whatever. Bhakta Veda, the 4 of them. And the last part of the chapter is Prabuddhasya Shreshtham. Among all those 4, who is the highest, which is the Nyani. Correct. So this is basically what we are going to, these are the 5 themes of this chapter, and this is what we will be looking at, right? So let's commence with this particular thing. Yeah. Yeah, so let's begin with the 13th verse. So this is basically Prakritasya Tirodihi, how the material nature is blocking us from understanding. So we start from the 13th verse today. Trivir Gunamayir Bhave Evi Sarvam Idam Jagat Mohitam Nabhijanati Mame Param Abhyayam. Look at the translation here. This entire universe, which consists of devas, human beings, animals, and the immovables, are deluded by these entities. Okay, I stated in the previous verse. That means of the 3 modes. Hence, they do not know me, who is the creator and self of this entire universe of sentient and non-sentient entities, is incredibly superior to these entities by virtue of my infinite auspicious qualities. Okay, so this is how he's translating, right? So we are unable to see him because of, we are unable to understand him, though he has so many glories, the Supreme Lord, because Maya is covering us. Maya is covering us. And Maya means comprising of the 3 modes of material nature. Okay, and what we are not understanding, we are not understanding Avyayam. We are unable to understand that he is who is eternal and non-changing. So Ramanujacharya gives a nice explanation here for Avyayam. So he says that Avyayam means Lord is Avyayam. What do you mean by saying that Lord is Avyayam? So he says that it means the happiness that we can obtain from him doesn't change like material objects. Okay, so because the comparison is the Lord versus material objects made up of 3 modes of nature. So he says the nature of material objects is they may not give us happiness at all places and all times. So he gives an example, just like a flower garland. Generally, a flower garland which is fragrant will give a lot of happiness to a person. But if somebody has lost his beloved and you give such a person a flower garland, then that flower garland is not going to give him happiness, because he is not in the right frame of mind because of whatever has happened. Right. Similarly, he says Chandana gives happiness. Right. If you see applying sandalwood gives happiness to people, it kind of cools, but only in the hot season. right? If you would go to the Himalayas and you're sitting in Badrinath and freezing, and there somebody comes and applies chandan on your forehead and all that, then you will actually start shivering even more because you're already feeling so cold. On top of that, if they're going to put chandan, then it's not going to give you happiness. The same chandan will not give happiness. So the idea is anything comprising of the three modes of material nature will give happiness as per time, place, and circumstance. But the Lord is avyayam, as in He will give happiness irrespective of all this. Okay, irrespective of time, place, circumstance, one can actually be happy in connection with the Lord. So that's why He's called avyayam. Another thing in this verse is why idam sarvam. Why is Krishna saying that everybody in the three worlds are deluded? So that means this prakritasya tirodhi is not only working for you and me in Guloka, it is working even for the Devathas. Somebody may say, Are Devathas are so high up. I think I again got lost for a minute. Just give me a second. Yeah. So somebody may say, why are the Devatas mentioned over here? So he says the Devatas are mentioned because even they are getting deluded. So he gives an example. So just like, suppose if somebody is standing on the top floor of a building and I am standing in the ground floor of the building, both of us are equally far away from the moon. Okay, so the moon is very far from both of us. It's not that the person who is in the terrace, he is closer to the moon much more than me. So similarly, the Devatas also, even though they are in the higher planetary systems, they are very far away from the Lord, as far as we are, literally, even though they are much higher placed than us. So for that reason, he says that, idam sarvam, all the three worlds are being deluded. Okay, so this is all prakritasya tirodhihi. Okay, so the same theme is continuing in the next verse. But then the next verse is also talking about Sharanagati. Devi Esha Gunamai, Mama Maya Duratya, Mameva Prapadyante, Maya Metam Taratite. This Prakriti of mind, which is constituted of the three gunas, Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas, and possesses wonderful power, which hides Bhagavan's infinitely delectable eternal nature, is created by me, Bhagavan, engaged in the divine sport of creating this universe. This Prakriti is impossible for a Jivatma to cross over by his own efforts. Those who surrender unto me alone, they will cross over this Mayik Prakriti. So he says Maya means what? So Maya means, generally we think Maya means some magic. Like a magician brings out a pigeon from a hat or something like that. Okay, but the pigeon is not exist, but it's not that the pigeon is not existing, right? It is just that he's playing some trick and he's showing it to us. Okay, so the idea is Maya means astounding. That's the definition of Maya he gives. Maya means astounding and surprising. It doesn't mean lie. That means you cannot say Maya is a lie or falsehood. No. Maya means astounding, ascharya, something amazing. Okay, so this Prakriti is considered Maya, as in it's astounding. It's something that we cannot even imagine how it could be like this. And we see that in science also, everybody is trying to understand more and more about Prakriti, but they find it so difficult to understand about Prakriti because Prakriti is astounding, right? It reveals so many secrets. So about Sita Devi, there is a very nice verse in the Ramayana. In context of Maya, I'm saying. So it says, Janakasya kule jata deva maya mayeva nirmita. Ramasya daita bharya nityam prana samahita. So it says this Sita Devi who is there, Deva Maya Nirmita. That means she's like the Maya of the Devas. That means even for the Devatas, Sita Devi was an Ascharya. How could someone be like this? A woman so beautiful, so many wonderful qualities, everything in this woman Sita. Okay, so she was considered like Maya. So here again, Maya doesn't mean false. I'm using this verse to make this point that Maya means astounding. That means even for the Devatas, Sita Devi was astounding. So that's why Maya is used over there. Okay. So there is one Sri Vaishnava Acharya, he has given a very interesting comparison. He says that Duratyaya, why is this word Duratyaya being used here? So he says Duratyaya means, so he gives an analogy. It seems that the nest of a sparrow, I've never seen it physically myself. I was just trying to Google and see how it looks. The picture of the nest of the sparrow. But he says that it seems the nest of a sparrow is so complicated that we cannot untie it. Okay, so sparrow is such a small bird if you see. But the nest which it makes is so complex that we cannot, it seems, untie it. I mean, you may break it or destroy it, but you cannot untie it. You cannot remove all those threads or all those, strands which make up the nest of the sparrow. So he says, we cannot even untie the nest of a sparrow. How are we going to untie this world of samsara? Okay, so that means even if such a small creature which is their sparrow, the nest it makes, we cannot untie it ourselves. Samsara is going to be much more complex for you and me to untie. So how can we do that? So that's the point. Duratyaya, we cannot do it. Okay, we cannot do simple things. How can we do something very complex? We cannot do it. Okay, so the only way is the Sharanagati here, right? So that is how he says. So this is how you. So this is the third theme from Yamunacharya's verse, if you remember, right? The third theme is, the first theme is the Lord's greatness. Second, why are we not able to perceive the greatness? Because of Maya. Third is how to overcome it. It is by Sharanagati. So Sharanagati, of course, Anukulyasya Sankalpa, all that we can look as part of it, right? So that is about it. Then continuing the same theme, who are the people? Now this again, this Prakritasya Tirodhi is only continuing. Who are the people who don't surrender? Okay, so Krishna is speaking four categories. Namam Dushkitro Muda, Prapantyante Naradana, Maya Apahrita Jnana, Asuram Bhava Mashritaha. Here again, Ramanujacharya's commentary is interesting. The examples he gives. He says there are the following four types of sinners in increasing order of magnitude of their sinfulness. Now, Prabhupada also generally talks like that only. Asuram Bhava Mashrita is categorized as the worst of the lot. Okay, so Ramanujacharya also says here that these are increasing order of sinfulness who do not surrender. Who are they? Mudha, the ignorant lot who think they are independent and all the objects of the material world exist for their pleasure. First category. That means who think they are independent and due to their ahankar and mamakar, I and mine concept. Okay, so this is coming from sins of the past, because of which they have this understanding. Okay, so that category. Second is Naradhama. That means these people have some understanding of Bhagavan, but they will not surrender. Okay, so Ramanuja gives the example of Shukracharya here, that he knew Krishna is Vamana who has come, is the Supreme Lord, but still he told Bali, at least in that story, that don't surrender to him. Be careful, this fellow is Vishnu. Okay, so that is called Naradhama. That means at least the Mudha doesn't know, this person at least knows, but he doesn't want to approach, at least in that context of that story, right? Third is Maya Apahrita Jnana. Maya Apahrita Jnana means they know everything, like Ravana and Hiranyakashipu. You see, Ravana and all was a scholar. Hiranyakashipu we see in the 7th canto. He is giving a Bhagavatam class to Hiranyaksha's wife after his death. So he knew many things about Atma, this, that, even Ravan. These people are philosophers. They knew many things. But still they will not surrender and simply keep doing unnecessary argument. Okay, so Ramanujacharya says they will do vitanda, they will do a lot of argument, but they will not surrender to Krishna. So that is called Maya Aparuta Jnana. And the fourth is Asuram Bhava Mashrita. That means one whose hatred for Bhagavan intensifies the more they learn about him. Okay, so for this he gives the example of Shishupala. Despite knowing everything, he is having envy towards Krishna. Okay, so this is considered the worst of the lot. That means he knows everything. He knows he's great, but still there is so much envy. So person doesn't want. So these are the four categories of people who refuse to surrender, right? Yeah. So this is this part. Okay, so this is all under that Prakritasya Tirodhi only. Okay, now we are coming to 7.16. We are actually going to spend a lot of time on this because this is going to be a very pivotal verse for us. So now we are coming to Bhakta Veda, four types of people who do surrender. Okay, Chaturvida Bhajante Mam, Jana Sukrutano Arjuna, Artho, Jijnasur Artharthi, Nyani Cha Bharatarshava. Hey Arjuna, best among the Bharatas, there are four kinds of persons who have done meritorious deeds and who seek refuge and worship me for their different goals they seek. Arthaha, persons who are afflicted. So before I go into this, I wish to say that this is that Bhakta Veda, right? I mentioned that point, the 4 types of devotees. And here Ramanuja gives a very interesting definition, because Ramanujacharya, what he does is this verse, he uses it throughout the 7th chapter and 8th chapter. Now, somebody may say, why am I bringing 8th chapter over here? So please try to understand this point. If you remember reading 8th chapter, Attaining the Supreme, there are so many things being said, right, about attaining the Supreme. Somebody may say, Arey, attaining the Supreme, only if Krishna said, Antakale cha mameva, that was enough. After that, how many things he's saying? Somebody should pass in light, somebody should, who passes in darkness, he goes here, there. Right? So many verses are there if you see in that 8th chapter. Okay, so Ramanujacharya, what he does is, he explains the entire 8th chapter Bhagavad Gita based on this one verse only, 7.16. Because he says in 7.16, Krishna is talking about different types of people who come to him. And each of these people, the way they approach the Supreme, what they have to think at the time of death, which path they take while going to liberation are all different. That is why 8th chapter has so many verses. Right? So currently you will have to pay attention, and more importantly, later when we go to the 8th chapter Bhagavad Gita, you will be able to, kind of appreciate these concepts a little more, because we are going to explore this a lot next time in the 8th chapter. Okay, so essentially what he has done, Ramanujacharya, he has made these 4 categories of people into 3. Okay, so Artho and Artharthi he has combined into what is called as Aishwarya Arti. Aishwarya Arti means one who wants opulence. Okay, material opulences. So Artaha, literally he says Artaha means one who is afflicted by, that Artaha means he says one who has lost Aishwarya. Okay, Aishwarya, please remember, doesn't only mean wealth. Okay, Aishwarya in Sanskrit means, literally it means anything related to the 5 senses. Anything nice related to the 5 senses is called as Aishwarya. So Aishwarya means Brashta Aishwarya. So Artaha means, he goes into that Sanskrit and explains this Brashta Aishwarya. That means you lost something that was very pleasurable for you. So that is Artaha. Artharthi means one who wants new Aishwarya. Okay, so the difference between Artaha and Artharthi is Artaha means one who lost some Aishwarya and who wants it back. And Artharthi is he wants new Aishwarya. Okay, so both these are going to be put under one category. These two, Artha, Artharthi, henceforth in our discussion, they will be one category called Aishwarya Arti. Okay, so this is going to become important, especially when we go into the 8th chapter, because you will see that there are several verses in the 8th chapter Bhagavad Gita which are meant for this Aishwarya Arti. So that time we will keep referring. This is for Aishwarya Arti. So you can remember, this is for Artaha and Artharthi. Okay. Now somebody may say at this point, Arey, Artha, somebody who wants Aishwarya and all, he can go to Devathas also, na? If he comes to Krishna, is he going to get something special? So Ramanujacharya here beautifully he says that yes, those who come to Devathas, they will get something. See, Devathas, you have to go if you have some problem in this world and you want some solution for it. Correct? Like if you see Arjuna wanted some weapons, he wanted it immediately here. So he got it. He was approaching Shiva or Pashupatastra, etc. Or someone is afflicted by some kind of problem, he approaches some Devata because he has some astrological problem due to some Devata's influence or whatever. He is trying to petition to sort that out. So that Devata approach now is primarily for this world. And even if it is to obtain the other worlds, maximum a person by worshipping Devata can go till Brahmaloka. Correct? Like somebody wants to go to Indraloka, he may be worshipper of certain Devatas, do certain types of rituals, homas, etc. because he wants to go to Indraloka. Okay, so the point is, Devata, if you say generally, the worship of the Devata is done for benefits either in this world when you are living here, or it is for going to heavenly planets, etc. Maximum till Brahmaloka. Then Devata cannot give anything more than that. Ramanujacharya says that in this verse, when Krishna is saying Artho Artharthi, this devotee who is going to worship Krishna for possessions, he is going to get something higher than Brahma. Okay, so somebody may say, what is that? Okay, so we can take some examples. So one example in the Bhagavatam, we know Dhruva Maharaj, right? So Dhruva Maharaj worshipped Krishna for a benefit which was greater than his great grandfather, which was Brahma himself. And we all know that Dhruva Loka is considered the highest, in terms of it's considered more higher or opulent or, something beyond even Brahma Loka, as in, right? So this is the benefit of Artho Artharthi worshipping Krishna. So please understand the difference. Those who worship Devathas, it's for something in this world or maybe in the heavenly planets. But these people who are there, Artho and Artharthi, Aishwaryarthi, who approach Krishna for opulences, they are going to get something higher than Brahma. Because how can Brahma, even Brahma cannot give that, right? How can Brahma give something higher than his own position? Because he is only sitting there, he can't give that. So for that, you have to go to Krishna only. So that is why he says. Somebody may say, okay, is it only Dhruvaloka is the only example? So no. So I was just recalling this point. If you see the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, there is an entire description about the 7 layers of the universe. So please remember this. This is beyond Brahmaloka again. So that means it is said that beyond Brahmaloka, the universe has coverings of 7 layers. Each layer is 10 times, bigger than the previous layer, and each layer is considered very opulent. Sometimes when we hear this, the universe has 7 layers, we may have a very, we may have our own low kind of imagination. Like previously, when I used to hear the first layer is earth, I thought that it is some mud or something, which is one thick layer of mud around the universe, and then water, only water or fire. So we built up some imaginations. But if you see the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, Sanatana Goswami explains when Gopakumar was traveling through the 7 layers of the universe, the opulence in those places. Because the question is, who is awarding all that? So the answer is Krishna only can award that, right? Because the Devathas also cannot award this, because this is higher than the Devata also. That is the point. This position is higher than this. I'm just reading some verses from Brihad Bhagavatamrita. Please hear this. So Gopakumar is saying, next I reached the coverings of the universe, each of them more so than the one before, was rich with enjoyments and opulences millions of times greater than Brahmaloka. Gopakumar is saying. So it is considered millions of times greater than Brahmaloka. Souls who have transcended. So if you see that commentary also now, so I'm just reading some part of it. Each successive covering, the Jiva finds wonderful opportunities for more refined material enjoyment. Since the material creation exists mainly for Jiva's enjoyment, these original reservoirs of material elements brim with resources for pleasure. The grosser objects produced from the casual elements, earth, water, fire, and so on, are great source of sense gratification for the conditioned living being. Okay, each of this covering the happiness is found, much more happiness is found than on Brahmaloka, and each consecutive covering offers more happiness than the one before. Okay, that is how it is described. So Gopakumar says, the first covering I entered was that on the earth. There I saw the Supreme Lord in the form of a great boar being worshipped by Goddess Earth. She worshipped him with riches, not to be obtained within this universe. Okay, and within the Goddess Earth, who embodies the subtle cause of creation, I saw the creation itself with all its creations. Okay, and Gopakumar is saying that the Goddess invited me to be her guest and stay there and enjoy the environment for a few days. But Gopakumar says, I did not stop there. I went on to the next level. So he says the next level, then he describes briefly the next level of water, fire, and so on. Okay, so, and then Gopakumar says, each covering was the subtle cause of the one before it and had a greater object of worship, greater worshipper, greater sense gratification, much greater opulence and importance than previous layer. Okay, and then finally he comes outside the universe where he comes into the Brahma Jyoti, etc. So please read those verses from Brihad Bhagavatamrita. What we understand is these coverings are all considered much superior to Brahmaloka. So if you ask the question who awards that, the only answer to that can be Krishna only can award it. The reason being even Brahma cannot award it, because right, as I said earlier, Brahma or Indra, anybody can award only things which are subordinate to them, which are lesser than them. How can someone give something greater than that? Okay, so the point here is Krishna is saying that those who come to me for Aishwaryarthi, those who come to me, Ramanujacharya is saying here in his commentary, that those who come to Krishna aspiring for Aishwarya are going to get an Aishwarya more than Brahmaji. That's the point, because that nobody else can give. Okay, so that is the first two categories here. Right now, the question is, how will we achieve that? For that, we'll have to wait till the 8th chapter. Because in the 8th chapter, attaining the Supreme, Ramanujacharya says, attaining the Supreme is 3 types of Supreme. You want to attain Aishwaryarti, that means you want to attain the Supreme by, as in you want Aishwarya, or you want Kaivalya, or you want Bhagavan, spiritual world. Okay, so that is why 8th chapter is so elaborate. And that's why sometimes 8th chapter can be very confusing also. As in, when you read the 8th chapter, you sometimes tend to feel that, what is this? So many things are said, and so on. So we are going to pause this discussion now. I'm going to go ahead here in these verses, but when we come to the 8th chapter, we'll come back to the same theme. Okay, so Artho, Artharthi, then Jignasu. Jignasu means what? Jignasu means this is Kaivalyarthi. Kaivalyarthi means one who wants Kaivalya Moksha, right? So that is very easily understandable to all of us. So who is this person? This person is such that he understands any Aishwarya in this world is mixed with Dukkha. Okay, so please try to understand. Any Aishwarya, even that Aishwarya in the covering of the universe, someday it is going to be destroyed only. Correct? Because the universe itself is going to be destroyed with all its covering. So all that is also gone. Right? So Jignasu fellow, he understands that I want some place which is beyond all this. Okay, so his goal becomes Kaivalya Moksha. Okay, that means he wants to just be situated at the level of Atma and be happy in that. So this is actually the Jignasu here. The Jignasu here is not the person who's asking too many questions or something. Sometimes we tend to think, we may look at Jignasu very literally. If you look at it, then it means somebody is asking questions. But that's actually not the point here. It is about one who is aspiring for impersonal liberation. Correct. And the 4th category is called as Nyani. Okay, person who understands the goal is to attain Bhagavan. So Nyani means what? So why is he called as Nyani? Nyani means one who has understood that Bhagavan alone should be desired. That means one has to go to Vaikuntha, spiritual world, Golok, or whatever you want to call that, beyond Kaivalya, right? And I don't want neither Aishwarya nor I want Kaivalya. I want Bhagavan only. One who understands that is being called as Nyani. So please remember, in this verse now, this word Nyani which is there is not referring to some impersonal liberation or something. Actually, this Nyani is being is actually referring to a devotee. Sometimes in terms of terminology, we may develop this confusion that what is this Nyani? Okay, we may think that Nyani means someone who is intellectual and no, it's not the point. So why is he called Nyani? He's called as Nyani because in the Bhagavad Gita, if you see, the Bhakta who is there in the Gita, he is the person who first understands Jnana properly. He understands the Jnana of Bhagavan. Right? If you see 7th chapter, 9th chapter, 10th chapter, 11th chapter, all this is talking about the Mahatmya of Bhagavan Sri Krishna, the greatness, the glories of Krishna. So one who understands all these glories and does mananam about it. So that is, first is you hear it, you obtain the knowledge, and then you think about it, and then you practice the process of self-realization. And then you come to the point that literally you can see Krishna face to face. So that's like the ultimate level of achievement. Right. So he is becoming a bhakta by understanding about Krishna. That means, right? So in Gita, the bhakta is becoming a person is becoming a bhakta through this process only. Okay, he is hearing about him, he is hearing about his glories, getting attracted to him, and hence he is practicing whatever he does, and then finally he becomes connected to the Supreme Lord. Okay, so that is why, so he's called as Nyani like that, but the Nyani is actually being referred to a devotee only. That means with knowledge he has come to Bhagavan. That's why he's called as Nyani here. Okay, so this Nyani is not the Nyani of the Jnana Yoga, so we should not confuse that particular thing. Okay. Now onwards, in the entire 7th chapter, Krishna is only going to speak about one theme called as Prabuddhasya Shreshtam, the 5th theme of the 7th chapter. What is the 5th theme of the 7th chapter? The greatness of this Nyani. Okay, that means the greatness of the Bhakta. Okay, so I'll not use the word Nyani now onwards. I'll say Bhakta because this Nyani is actually a Bhakta only in this verse. The 4th person who surrenders to Krishna out of knowledge. Okay, he is considered Bhakta only. Out of knowledge, he is surrendering to Krishna, but he is Bhakta. Okay, so this Bhakta, whom Krishna is calling as a Nyani here, he is Shrestha, he is topmost. So Krishna is now going to spend the remaining part of the 7th chapter talking about the greatness of this devotee. So let's look at the verses. Tesham Nyani Nitya Yukta Eka Bhakti Vishishyate Priyohi Nyani Nartyartam Aham Sacha Mama Priya. Among the 4 types of devotees who seek refuge and worship me, the person who aims to attain Bhagavan as the goal excels and is foremost among all, as is always wishing to be united with me and adores and worships me exclusively. For such an incredible, knowledgeable Bhakta, I, being omniscient and omnipotent, cannot describe adequately the limitless amount of love he showers on me. He also is the recipient of my love, which I meagerly try to reciprocate in turn. It's a beautiful way of putting it if you see this translation, right? So what is he saying here? Among the 4 types of devotees, that means these 4 types. So these 4 now again, please remember, we are going to henceforward talk only about 3. Aishwaryarti, which has 2 parts, Artho and Artharti. Kaivalyarti, who wants moksha, impersonal liberation, and Nyani, who is the Bhakta, who wants a spiritual world. So among these 4 types or 3 categories, see how Nyani has been defined here. Look at that definition. It's a beautiful definition. The person who aims to attain Bhagavan as the goal, he is Nyani. Okay, that is the definition of Nyani. Who wants to attain Bhagavan, the personality. Vishishyate, he is special. Why is he special? Krishna is again giving a reason. Nitya Yukta, as he is constantly wishing to be united with me. So why is this being said? So I want to just say is that because the other 2 categories, they are not Nitya Yukta. Like if you see the Aishwaryarti. Aishwaryarti is worshipping Krishna because he wants Aishwarya. Once he gets Aishwarya, then he may or may not worship Krishna. Okay, so he is not Nitya Yukta. And similarly, the Kaivalyarti who is there, he is also worshipping Krishna because he wants Kaivalya Moksha. Okay, but once, I mean, he's using that worship as a stepping stone for his purpose. But once he attains Kaivalya Moksha, he is not interested in thinking about Krishna now. He will not. He will just be situated in Atma. He'll be just, be happy thinking that I'm the Atma like that. So he is not. So only the Jnani is Nitya Yukta. Only this devotee, because he's always connected, right? He's always connected. Eka Bhaktir, he adores and worships me exclusively. And for such an incredibly knowledgeable Bhakta, Jnanina is defined as incredibly knowledgeable Bhakta. Aham, I being omniscient and omnipotent, cannot describe. Now look at this, how he's saying. Krishna is saying here, I cannot describe how much love he showers on me. And Krishna is saying that I am trying to reciprocate, but I am also not able to do perfectly. That's how Krishna is. So Ramanujacharya gives a nice example here. He gives the example of an elephant. Okay, so please hear this example. The example is that an elephant, when it has to be bound, if you have seen in temples and all, the elephant, there is a big chain which is tied at the feet of the elephant, and one end of that chain is put on some, there is some stick on that, it is just tied like that. So somebody may ask the question, who brings this big chain? The answer is the elephant only brings that chain, because that mahot who is there, he cannot carry that big chain which is tied to the leg of the elephant. The elephant only carries that chain and brings it to the mahot. And the mahot, what he does is, there's a small stick on that, he'll just put that chain over there, and then the elephant will stand there only. Actually, you can have so many questions. If you have observed this, you can have so many questions in your mind. Question number 1 is, the elephant only is bringing that chain to bind himself. Second question you will have is, the elephant is so big and that stick to which that chain has been tied is so small. If the elephant gives one small pull, then that stick will be thrown away. But still, no, the elephant is ready to be bound by that mahot. And the process for binding is also supplied by the elephant only, the chain. He is only bringing it. It's not that the mahot is dragging it. Similarly, he says that the Nyani, this Bhakta, in this verse over here, which is being described, okay, he is being controlled by the Lord. The Lord only is bringing this process. The process of bhakti is like the chain, which the Lord only is bringing and giving it to the devotee, saying that, okay, you can bind me now. Okay. And he's willingly getting bound. Just like the elephant is willingly getting bound, the Lord is willingly getting bound by the devotee's love. Okay, so that is how he describes here. And this is a very beautiful verse. And the next one is even beautiful. So here, look at this. Udara sarva evete jnani twatve mami matam asita se yuktatma mame mam uttamam gati. Indeed, all these types of devotees are very generous as they bestow generosity on me by enabling me to grant their wishes. Please focus on this word, udara. Udara means generous. So why Krishna is calling them generous? So here again, this is Vedanta Desikan's commentary actually. He says here, it seems that Krishna is calling all the four types, not only Nyani, that other people also. He's calling them Udara because they are enabling Krishna to do his own Swadharma. So what is Krishna's Swadharma? Krishna's Swadharma is to give people something, right? Like for example, if you see in Kanchipuram, the name of the deity there is Varada. Varada means somebody who is giving var. अभी वरदा को वर देने के लिए लोग चाहिए ना. Somebody should go and ask him something, then only he can be Varada. If nobody is going to ask him, then how can he retain that name called as Varada? Okay, so the Lord is becoming Varada. He's doing the Swadharma of Varada by giving so many things to his devotees, and that is why he is called as Varada. Okay, who is fulfilling that? These four types of people. That is why Krishna is calling them as Udhara, generous. So basically the point is Krishna is calling these devotees, these four categories as Udhara because they are enabling Krishna to fulfill his own Swadharma, which otherwise would have never got fulfilled. If nobody went to him and asked, his name only wouldn't exist like that, right? So, okay, so Krishna, but then, Udhara Nyani Twatmai Mamimatam. However, the person possessing the ultimate knowledge, that is of bhakti, he is the very cause of my being and sustains me. So Krishna is saying, I am being sustained by him. Okay, so I'm not going into that verse, but there's a verse in the Ramayana where Lord Ram says that I am being maintained only because of Sita. Only because of Sita I am existing. Otherwise I wouldn't exist. Okay. Such a bhakta always desires to be united with me and cannot bear separation from me and considers me only the supreme goal to be attained. Okay, so in this way the Lord is praising the bhakta, the fourth category, Nyani, so much, right? Okay, so this is, Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapadyate vasudeva sarvamiti samahatma sudurlabha. Okay, only after engaging in virtuous deeds for numerous births, one can understand the true nature of Bhagavan and develop the conviction that Vasudeva is the goal to be attained and means as well. Bhagavan alone is the sustenance, nourishment, enjoyment, parents and all forms of relatives for himself and thus surrenders unto me. Such a bhakta who is endowed with such a great mind is extremely rare to be found in this world. Okay, so Krishna is basically saying that the devotee is such a person is very rarely found because it takes several lifetimes of virtuous deeds to come to this particular point. So please remember, so when Krishna is saying this, Bahunam Janmanam etc., you will have to connect it to whatever we studied in the first 6 chapters of Gita. We cannot think that we can just bypass that and come here. That entire Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga and Yoga, which was spoken about right in the 6th chapter. So if you see the chronology of the Gita also, it is very clear. Krishna is building concepts on top of each other. That's what we always keep saying. Right? So so only somebody who has done all that for several births, he comes to that understanding that this is this Bhagavan. So please try to understand, this is not just some theoretical understanding. It is some kind of a deep conviction in the heart, as we said earlier, There is Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam. There is a realization that has dawned within a person that Vasudeva is the only goal to be attained, which is his own realization, which is not superimposed upon him by somebody telling him that. He has himself come to that. Okay, and then he surrenders to Krishna. And Krishna is saying that such a person is extremely rare. Okay. Now what he does is, in the remaining part of the chapter, which we will be very brief with, Krishna is going to contrast. Because see, Krishna has said, the bhakta is great. So, see, when you say somebody is great, you have to contrast him with some other people who are not great. Only then you will understand how this person is great. Okay, so since Krishna has said the greatness of the bhakta, the Nyani, the fourth category is surrendering, now in the rest of the 7th chapter, Krishna, at least for 7-8 verses, is going to compare that Nyani with other people. And he's saying that, see, there are so many other people like this. Now look at these people and then you will understand better how my devotee is so great. Okay, so that is the theme. Okay, so that is why all this comes here. Almost all people in the world, due to ever possessing the subtle impressions gathered from their many births, develop a craving for different worldly objects in accordance with their vasana, and get robbed of their clear knowledge about me and take refuge in and worship other deities for fulfilling their desires by practicing relevant rites and rituals to please such deities. So this is the translation given. Beautiful again. Okay, so here he's saying that all the other people who are there, they have so many vasanas, right? Everyone is thinking that, oh, I want many things here to enjoy. Okay, and they are robbed of their knowledge of Krishna, and hence they are running behind various other devatas. So if you remember, I had told you, there is a difference between Devata Puja and Krishna Puja for Aishwarya also. Okay, I'm making that point again. That Aishwarya Arti, whom Krishna spoke in 7.16, that person is going to attain something greater than Brahmaji also. Whereas these people are not like that. They are going to be stuck in the 3 worlds only. So it is to understand that. Right? So Krishna is contrasting all this with that person, saying that, see, that person is so great, look at all these people, they are like this, like that. Right? And the next one, 21. Yo yo yam yam tanum bhakta shraddhya architum inhadi tasya tasya chalam shraddham tamema vidadamema. Whichever such devotee desires to worship with faith, whichever deity other than me of their desire, all of whom constitute my body, for such devotees, I make their faith on such deities steadfast without obstacles. So Krishna is saying that it is me only who is giving faith in them, to worship certain devatas if they want something. Because one thing beautiful about Krishna as the Lord is he's simply not pushy. Can you imagine if none of us are God, but just hypothetically to imagine if anybody would be, we would literally want to force everyone, right? But Krishna is saying that, okay, he wants to worship some devata, I will give him more faith in that devata. Okay, so he only instills that faith in a person. And we see that also. People who have attraction to a particular deity, they have a very strong attraction. It's not sometimes philosophically, you cannot, even if you make all kinds of arguments, they may not want to change. Because, right, this is given by Paramatma only to such a person. And the next verse is also very interesting. Satya Satya Vikta Sasya Radhanamite Labate Chatat Kaman Mayeva Vihitanita. Where here Krishna is saying such a devotee of other deities endowed with steadfast faith engages in worship of the deity of their choice. Through such worship of Indra, etc., he obtains the desired material objects which are in fact bestowed on by me alone through these deities. So for this, Ramanujacharya gives a nice example. Here basically Krishna is saying that all the fruits given by the devatas are given by me only. But for this, one example is given nicely. So he says, imagine, suppose somebody is worshipping some Indra for some material benefit. And let us say, suddenly the Indra changes. Many times it happens, right? Indra changes. Indra does some mistake or something. He has to go. Somebody else is sitting as Indra. Or Indra's tenure only gets over. Another person comes and sits as Indra. So let's say someone was worshipping Indra for getting some heavenly benefit, or he wanted to go to the heavens. So he did some Indra Puja, or some yajna he did. And then later what happens is Indra only changes. Some other person only Indra. And in the next Indra's tenure, this person is going to get benefited. The question will come, he worshipped the because Indra is a post, right? Ultimately, he worshipped the previous Indra, but the next Indra is giving benefit. So how did that happen? So the answer to that is this verse, because it is a Paramatma in that heart of Indra who is inspiring, who is telling, "Hey, this fellow has already done that worship previously, so he has to be given." So he gets the fruit. Okay, so the point here is right. So this is why Krishna is saying like this. Antavantu phalam tesham tadbhavat yalpametasam devan devejoyanti madbhakta yanti mamapi. Such worshippers who are of limited knowledge thus obtain their desired fruits which are perishable and limited because they're perishable, right? They're very, very small. Even the Aishwaryarti, the Krishna who worships Krishna and gets Aishwarya, his Aishwarya is much, much more superior to the Devathas. Okay, so that is also perishable, but even in the matter of perishability, that is much, much superior. But these people, though, they are much smaller. And they perform Vedic sacrifices aimed at other deities, attain those deities. However, the persons who worship me exclusively attain me in Vaikuntha, where they enjoy eternal limited enjoyment. And they go to the spiritual world. Right? And why do they go to such devatas? Abhyaktam Vyakti Mahapannam Manyante Mam Abuddhaya Param Bhava Majananto Mama Avyayam Anuttamam. So Krishna here is also saying that why these people go. Param Bhava Majananto, on this there is a lot of focus. Param Bhava Majananto means, he says that such people, they don't understand the Saulabhyatvam and Paratvam of Krishna. Krishna's Saulabhya means very easy to obtain. Paratva means he is superior to everyone. These are two important categories of Krishna. See, first of all, you have to be really great. And second is, even if you are great, you should be easily accessible also. Generally, both are not obtained. Somebody may be very easy to access, but he may not be great. And somebody may be great, but he may not be easy to access. But the beauty of Krishna, he says here, is that is Saulabhya and Paratva. Is very easy to obtain and also is greater than everyone. Okay, so he's saying here, this is not known to people. Krishna is saying here, Parambhavam, this is my Parambhavam. Parambhavam means this is my real great nature. Okay, majority of jivas are ignorant and they do not understand this. So, they don't approach me. Otherwise, he said that anybody who's intelligent would have actually approached me only. Krishna is saying. Right? Naham prakasha sarvasya yoga maya samapruta mudoyam nabi janati loko ma majamuktiya. So here Krishna is again making the same point, prakritasya tirodhihi, that how Krishna also, if people don't want to understand him, then Krishna ensures that there is a character. You cannot understand. Okay, I, who am wheeled by the human form, which I have assumed during my incarnation, do not explicitly show my supreme divine nature and my incredible glories to all the people in the world. The foolish folks in the world do not recognize that I am unborn, unlike them who are born due to their karma, and thus I am cause of the whole universe, and I remain immutable in my essential nature and disposition unlike themselves. Beautiful translation, again, if you see. Right, so Krishna is again saying that somebody who doesn't want to understand me, I am not going to be pushy. Okay, no problem. You don't want to understand? Okay, then you need not understand. Right, so it's like that. So this is, right, this is about, now the last part of this chapter. And then Krishna is also saying it's not only people, even Vedaham Samatitani Vartamani Charjuna Bhavishyani Cha Bhutani Mam Pivedan Karchana. Hey Arjuna, I am completely known. I completely know all beings who existed in the past, those who exist in the present, those who exist in the future. However, none of these people know me in eternality. Know me in reality, sorry. Okay, that means Krishna is saying here that I know everybody, but others cannot know me. Again, please try to understand. Krishna is contrasting all these people with the Nyani. We should not forget the thread. Okay, Bahunam Janmanam Ante, Krishna said that Nyani is the great. After that, Krishna is speaking all this to contrast that none of these people. Okay, now the question here is, why is it that these people cannot understand? So that Krishna is elaborating more. Ichcha dvesha samuttena dvandva mohena bharata sarva bhutani sammoham sarge yanti param tapa. Okay, so here Krishna is saying, why are people not understanding? Because of duality. Okay. Ichcha dvesha. Ichcha and dvesha is a duality. Oh Arjuna, descendant of Bharata, oh chastity, is due to the delusion which is caused by pair of opposite, dvandva, pleasure, pain, heat, cold, which arises from instinctive likes or dislikes for material objects. all the living beings at the very moment of their birth are deluded such that they remain infatuated with material objects instead of craving for and loving me. It's a beautiful translation if you think about it carefully, right? Here he's saying that we are born only with this dvandva. So Ramanuja raises a question here. How can you say dvandva duality is due to ichcha and dvesha? Aren't dualities like heat and cold very objective in this world? It is hot, it is cold. How can you say that this is because this duality of heat and cold is because of desire and hate? So he says, no, it's not like that. He says, these concepts, I like this, I don't like these. These originate in the mind, he says, first of all. These things actually, that means this instinctive likes and dislikes in this material world to different material objects arise in our mind only. And it arises in our mind because of ichcha and dvesha, because of hate and so on, right? Because of our own material conditionings, we get attracted to certain things and we are repulsed from certain things. So that is the origin of duality, which later manifests in the duality of heat, cold, summer, winter, and all that. Okay. And Krishna is saying this is from birth only. It's from birth as in what? This is from previous life. So that means somebody will say, how can I escape from this then? So for that, you have to be a Nyani. And that is the point we're again coming to in the next verse. Now, please, this verse is Krishna is talking about the Nyani. Are you getting it? So the Nyani was spoken between 7.17 and 7.20. Then Krishna contrasted all the others who are not Nyani. And now he's again coming back to the Nyani. Circular logic. Yesham Tontogadam Papam Jananam Punya Karmanam Te Dvandva Moha Nirmukto Bhajante Mam Dridhavrata. Krishna has now again come back to the Nyani, saying that why the Jnanis are not behaving like the other people? Because they have done innumerable virtual deeds of our previous birth. So please remember, these virtual deeds means these include all this Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, everything. Right? The first 6 chapters, what was discussed, that is all done by these people, and that is why their sins are weakened now. Okay, papam antagatam, their sins are weakened, and such people gradually freed from the duality of like and dislike, which cause delusion. They have now a steadfast conviction. They are not agitated too much by the attraction and repulsion to material objects, and they are able to focus on me. Okay, so if you see this, Krishna so beautifully, that Jnani part which is there, 7.16 which he spoke the glories of Jnani, he contrasted Jnani with others, and now he has again come back to the Jnani, saying that this Jnani is not behaving like other people. So actually at this point, 7th chapter is over, technically, but there are 2 more verses. You may say, why the 2 verses are there? That is a prelude to the 8th chapter. Okay, so many times Krishna is doing this. Whatever he's going to talk in the next chapter, he brings 1 or 2 verses in the previous chapter only. We have seen that before also. Right, like at the end of the 6th chapter, he spoke about a bhakta. Yoginam api sarvesham madhyate rantaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yoman samayukta tamomata. That is actually about this Jnani only, this 4th type, right? But Krishna spoke that in the 6th chapter last verse. Similarly, 8th chapter ka content he is now bringing in the 7th chapter in the end. I think pretty much like our television serial, sometimes they do that, right? What they are going to show next time, in the next episode, they show a small clipping at the end of a current episode in a television serial. So something like that, right? So these are the last 2 verses. And Jara Marana Mokshaya Mama Shruti Yatantiye Te Brahma Tadvidu Kritsnas Adhyatmam Karma Chakidam. So please remember this Adhyatma, Ati Bhuta, Karma, these are all concepts which are going to open in the 8th chapter. Why they are going to open? Because these are the concepts which Aishwaryarti, Kaivalyarti, and Bhagavan Labharti. Bhagavan Labharti means that Jnani. These 3 people have to understand these things. Only then they can go to their respective destinations. So all this is going to be discussed in the 8th chapter. But Krishna is bringing a couple of verses in the 7th chapter itself. So what is Krishna saying in the 29th verse? Those who approach me wanting to be freed from impurities such as old age, death, and the association with Prakriti and strive by worshipping me should know Brahman, the whole of Adhyatmam and all types of karma. If any of you remember 8th chapter, you know the first verse is that only. Kim Tat Brahma, Kim Adhyatmam, Kim Karma Uchyate, all that. Adi Bhutam, Chakim Deva, Adi Devam, Kim Uchyate. So Arjuna is asking, he is asking Krishna to define various terms. So that is now being brought in by Krishna. So what is Krishna saying? Krishna is now talking about, in this verse actually he is talking about that Kaivalyarti. That Jignasu is there, na Kaivalyarthi. Kaivalyarthi, what he wants to be free of all this old age, death, everything. And he wants Kaivalya Mukti. So that person who wants this, what should he know? He should know Brahman, he should know Adhyatma, and he should know Karma. Now, why he should know these? That we will discuss next time when we start with the 8th chapter. That is the whole content of the 8th chapter. So Kaivalyarthi should know some things. Okay. And similarly, the last verse, Sadi Budadi Devam Mam, Sadi Yakyam Ye Viduhu, Prayana Kale Pichamam, Te Vidur Yukta Chetasaha. The person desiring Aishwaryam should know me as associated with Adi Bhuta and Adi Deva. This Adi Bhuta and Adi Deva are supposed to be known by Aishwaryarthi. So this we will explain in the 8th chapter. Okay. And all these three seekers should understand me as Adi Yajna. And all these three types of seekers. Please remember, three types of seekers means Aishwaryarthi, Kaivalyarthi, Bhagavalabharthi. Aishwaryarthi is of 2 types. So totally 4 types of devotees are there, but they are sometimes spoken as 3 types only. All these 3 types of seekers who worship me, even at the time of death, with their mind concentrated on me, aiming to attain their specific desire, should understand me. Okay, so Krishna is speaking about how these 3 people who are there, they need to understand certain concepts, and then they need to know certain things in order to focus to obtain Krishna. So this is the topic of the 8th chapter, which we will start next. The 8th chapter is going to be very beautiful, and we are going to spend a lot of time with the 8th chapter as well. Right? So any questions or comments? We are done with today. Yeah, so what do living entities exist in the 7 layers of the universe? Of course, if you see Gopakumar's description, it is not that I told you, right? Sometimes we hear 7 layers, we think that they are just earth means some mud is packed and then water is packed and then there is fire. No, it's not like that. These are, Sanatana Goswami is saying they are more opulent than Brahmaloka also. So there is, I mean, I think only when you go there you will understand. But the description at least says that it is much, much more opulent than Brahmaloka, and there are people there who have followed 7.16 Bhagavad Gita, who have followed 8th chapter Bhagavad Gita and landed there. Anyone with any question can raise their hand. Otherwise, we can end. Yeah, Kiran, Haribhav.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhuji, you mentioned that Jignasi is like an impersonalist or a person who is looking for Kaivalya. But normally we give like what meaning we say, like somebody who is inquisitive is a Jignasi and Nyani is like a...
Yeah, so this Jignasu is being called by Ramanuja as Kaivalyarthi because Jignasu means he is curious about how to get rid of suffering. See, please remember that becomes his Jignasa. That means what is his Jignasa? His Jignasa is how to escape suffering. So that's because he has understood. Even if you go to the 7 layers of the universe, where it may be more opulent than Brahmaloka, वहाँ पर भी suffering है भाई, क्योंकि ये सब खत्म होने वाला है एक दिन. तो मेरे को ऐसा जगह चाहिए जहाँ पर this is not there. So that is the Jignasu in him essentially. That means his curiosity is essentially about how to escape suffering. That is the question in his mind. So this is not, so you cannot look at it from the perspective, because even the Nyani, how to get something he has. Yeah. Yeah, you understood the point, right? That is why Jignasu is called as that. Yeah. Okay. Haribhav. Yeah.
Yes, Ruji. So Ruji, this 6.47, the yogi, the best of yogis. So is the same as what Gyani, which is being described here in this chapter?
Yes. This Nyani is not Nyani. This Nyani is not the Jnana Yoga wala Nyani.
Yeah.
Krishna is saying, na Bhunam Janmana Mante Jnanavamam Prapadyate Vasudeva Sarvamiti. He is a devotee only actually. If you see that, even Prabhupada translates all that as devotee only, na. This person is very dear to me, I am dear to him. Krishna is talking about a devotee only there. He's calling him a Jnani because he has become a Bhakta through knowledge. Are you getting it, na?
Yeah.
He has understood Krishna and then become a devotee. He has understood Krishna Tattva. See, the Gita is not talking about becoming a devotee just on an emotional level, something like that, accidentally. It is about becoming a devotee very consciously by understanding the greatness of Krishna. That's why all these chapters are there. 7th chapter, 9th chapter, 10th chapter, 11th chapter. What is it about? It is only about greatness of Krishna. So one who understands all that and then, does mananam on that and comes to that realization that I want to understand Vasudeva as everything. Vasudeva Sarvamiti. So he's a devotee only. In our terminology, what we use, the devotee. So the Nyani is that same person. Yoginam api sarvesham. He's the topmost. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So I have another question. So this Krishna's two qualities under Param Bhavam Ajananto, you mentioned one is Saulabhyatvam and Paratvam.
Yes.
So Saulabhyatvam means that Krishna is very easy to attain, but at the same time there are so many other verses where we are understanding that so many people do not approach Krishna, and we also, as a practicing sadhaka, like sometimes it becomes very difficult to like see that okay, Krishna is easy to obtain. So, like, where is the challenge? Where is the gap? Because if Krishna is so easy to obtain, then why there are so many challenges, obstacles, and so many people either first of all do not come to him, and even after coming to him and understanding is the goal, find challenging to proceed
Attraction
towards
to
it.
the three modes. That's what that is already spoken as 7.13, 7.14. The three modes of material nature, as long as attracted by that, then it is very difficult because these objects which are there are very attractive, right? Material world is very attractive to everybody here. So then it becomes very difficult to approach Krishna. Though he's Saulabhya, very easy to obtain. You'll have to give up this place now. If somebody is not ready to give up this place, how can he go? So give up this place as in there is an attraction to material objects to enjoy. So that part, that is blocking. That's why that is the second part of the 7th chapter. See, if you see the Gita flow, you understand that easily. When Krishna spoke about his greatness till 7.12, immediately what did he say? He said, how you care, who is blocking you? If everything is so easy, Maya is only blocking. Maya means his attraction to these three moods, that thing. Yeah, so that is part of the hard work of yoga. So please try to understand. So that's why, see, this Bahunam Janmanam Ante also, we have to look at it carefully. This is sometimes, Krishna is talking about this process of being a bhakta as a several lifetime process, right? He's not talking about it in one lifetime somebody gets. Krishna is saying, Bahunam Janmanam Ante. It takes a lot of time because one has to practice all these things also, right? One has to practice the yoga system. Then only slowly one will get detached from this attraction to the three modes. That is the hindrance.
And yes, Prabhuji, so I was also trying to connect the talk you gave on that 5 levels of Surya Puja, and I think that one seminar. So there also I think something similar that externally we may come to Krishna consciousness, but internally we may be at those different levels, and I think that is also connected to that level, to how much degree we are influenced by the modes of material nature.
Yes. And this is not just intellectual. This is about where we are actually. That means if you look at that Bhaktivinoda Thakur's essay, Shakta doesn't mean one who is literally worshipping Durga Devi. That is one level. But one who is attracted to sense objects is Shakta. One who is attracted to energy, he is Saurya. One who is attracted to leadership, which is more subtle, is Ganapatya. One who is attracted to that Aham Brahmasmi, intellect, that concept, is Shaiva. And one who is attracted, these are actually, these Devathas are not just people, it is your level of achievement inside. So that's why, these are not just something which you can, sometimes we imagine, right? You just catch somebody, you preach to someone and you kind of convert him. So it doesn't happen like that. From the Gita perspective, it is not like a Christian conversion process. You just tell him something and immediately he changes. We say like that, people immediately change, but actually they don't, because they have to go through that internal journey to change. Correct? And Krishna is also patient. Krishna is saying, you follow all these things for several lifetimes, you will come to me. Like that.
So, Guruji, like approaching the Devata, so like we know and we hear of so many people, even from the West, right? They don't approach any devatas or anything, but their understanding of certain concepts, for example, of psychology, of energy, of pranic healing, and all this, so great. And they have they have understood about human mind in a very, what do you say, a lot of details they have understood, and they have helped also a lot of people in unwinding their mind so much. So they are not approaching any devatas, but then how? So again, I think it is again Krishna is only giving them this knowledge directly.
No, no, see, yeah, Krishna is giving knowledge to everyone. That part is taken. That part is understood. Even the scientist who is preaching against God is getting that knowledge from Krishna only. So that part, of course, we know. But see, please try to understand one point. Remember that this Devata concept, it is at multiple levels also. We call it actually Adhyatmika, Ati Devika, Ati Bhautika. That means these Devatas exist as individuals, and they also exist in terms of at a conceptual level. Right. So at that concept, so for example, Saurya, okay, Shakta, at conceptual level also they're there. So somebody is a Shakta doesn't mean that they have to be necessarily worshipping Durga Devi as a person. That is person oriented. But then worshipping the material energy, going behind material energy is also Shakta only. Okay. So similarly with Saurya, Ganapatya, like that. So please try to get this point. We are sometimes simplifying it too much, where we think Devata Puja only means when the deity is there personally. That is Adi Devam. But then there is Adi Bhautika also. That means at the material level also, corresponding things exist in the world. And you connect to that, and you are actually connected to that Devata only. Though you may accept or no. Are you getting it? So
Yeah, okay. Oh yeah, I think that's a very good understanding. So that's what I was wondering, that because they don't have many times access to astrologers
no problem.
to correct their planets and all that.
That's not very refined, but still it's the same thing, right? The
Yeah.
Deva, that means the deity may not be there, but then that at that Bhauta level, at the Bhautika level, they are accessing that same energy only.
Okay. So basically, they are in alignment with that same energy of that particular devata. Then
Yes.
they get benefit of
No, they get
getting connected to the.
yes.
Yeah.
They get benefit out of it. Why will Krishna not give benefit? It's okay, take it. You are manipulating material energy so much, you will get it. But it is corresponding. Yeah.
Yes.
But
Right.
Prabhuji,
Yeah,
then where is the relevance of deity worship in that case? Somebody may say we don't even need it. We can connect that way also.
Yes. So see, the thing is, when you see, it's a more evolved concept. See, the Vedic concept contains all these Adhyatmika, Adidevika, Adibhautika. So please try to understand. Even our concept also, Devata connection with Devata didn't mean that only at the prayer level. It meant something physical also. Like I always give this example. In our scriptures we read, right? Some king does some yajna or something, and then some Devata comes. He's asking for a child, and then the Devata gives some kheer or something. Correct. And then they have a child. So many times we think that they only drank the kheer and they got the child. They actually do the Adi Bhautika. That means they have union also. Correct. So please try to understand, whatever is to be done at the physical level, that was never cancelled. Okay. It is just that it is more refined. So you're trying to access that personified energy also. So these people in the modern world, they may be only accessing the energy, which they access in so many ways. But these Devata worshippers, they go one level up. They access the energy also, but then they go behind that personification also. So there is Durga Devi, there is Lord Shiva. That person is also there, na? So they go behind that person also. Okay, so that makes it more refined, and ultimately there is another advantage over there, right? So when you approach the deity, there is an advantage, as in you slowly get evolved in that whole ladder. You start understanding, okay, if these people can give so much, then why not Krishna? Okay, so just like the Gita, that is what Krishna's focus is. See, these devatas can give you so many things, but they are all temporary. If you come to me, I can give you much more. I can give you something even greater than Brahma. So then and And Ramanuja, he later comments in the 8th chapter, Krishna's purpose is also to attract all that Aishwarya-arti to him only. Okay, because somebody will say, Arey, why is Krishna so eager to give Aishwarya to his devotees? Or why is Krishna even eager that the Kaivalya-arti should come to him? So the answer Ramanuja says is that Krishna wants Aishwarya-arti, Kaivalya-arti, everybody to come to him so that he can ultimately take them all back to him, which is his like desire that all the living entities come back to him. Okay, so connection to that personification has its own set of advantages in that evolution. Otherwise, you're just stuck with something at the lower level only. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yes. Hari Bol. Yeah, Brajendra Kumar Prabhu, last question. We end with that.
Yeah, Prabhuji, you gave examples for Naradhama, Asura, and Mayarpata. What is the example for Mudha?
Oh, Muda, this is like, that's a much lower level. So there are like too many people. Anybody who is in that aham mameti, I and mine concept, is called as a Muda as per Ramanuja. So Mudas are too many in number. So you need not even go to such higher people. So that's why I didn't give any specific example. I mean, by and large, the world is filled with that. As in, they're too numerous to specify any specific person. But as you go higher, you need specific examples. So that's why we give.
Yeah. Bro, another question I had is as you are explaining the Karma Yoga and these part of the chapters, the process is like very detailed. But when we see, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he's Krishna himself. He's kind of, even bypassing all of this, and he's bringing something which, let's say, the topmost Gyani is doing. So here, when he says who is only after Krishna, and he directly gives that to everybody. Now it is individual responsibility that whether they develop that bhava or not. But he's giving this chance that even if you're not done all this, fine, you can take to this. And we see, some devotees, they become so dedicated in this movement, in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement, that they achieve this Gyani level that we are talking about. So we have Krishna who came 5,000 years ago, and we have Krishna who came 500 years ago, and he's not following his Gita. He's directly giving something, So I just wanted to, do a comparison.
Yeah, I think we have discussed this many times in our group as well. So please try to understand this. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came at an era where, if you see, the essential aspect of Karma Yoga is the Varnashrama, which was never broken. Which was, please try to understand, till 100 years back in India, Varnashram institution was very solid. I mean, Karma Yoga was a given. I mean, there was no question even of talking about it. Or that's why, if you remember, we discussed this point, right? Why Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya talk about it, but our Goswamis, they speak only about the unique aspect of bhakti, because they were living in an era where it was taken for granted. Are you look at Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself also. Sometimes we miss these verses in Chaitanya Charitamrita. I've told this before also. If you see Chaitanya Charitamrita, at least there are 25 verses where it says Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to do Madhyana. Now please try to understand what is Madhyana. Madhyana is the Trikala Sandhya done by a Brahmana. He has to do 3 times. Morning Sandhya, afternoon Sandhya is called Madhyana, and Sayam Sandhya. Okay. Mahaprabhu, even though he was in love of God or whatever, this Brahman Dharma, which was to do Sandhya, etc., he never gave up. Even in his sannyas, even in his state of love of God, he followed that. And by and large, in those days also in society, if you see carefully, because Varnashram was pretty much well preserved, Karma Yoga was a given only. As in, rarely, there was no one who violated it. It was anyway being followed. Correct? So that is why that part was not spoken so much by the Lord specifically. Okay. But in the Gita, Krishna is building it up because Arjuna wanted to escape from it. Arjuna wanted to run away from his duty as a Kshatriya, right? So Krishna has to speak that. But otherwise, if you see, there is no evidence that anybody in those times broke away from Varnashram like that. No, nobody would. People would follow that only and then do their bhakti. Their bhakti was always on top of that. See, today's era is kind of actually the change in society has been very rapid in maybe around this ever since industrialization and maybe the last 100 years or so. It's been very, very rapid where people are, people migrated from their hometowns, from their villages. They went to big cities. Nowadays, they go everywhere in the world. So they have got cut off from their roots, their traditions, and so many things, intercaste marriages that happen. So everyone just, your lifestyle reduces to one common minimum program, which there's no difference in how, but otherwise, if you see in that particular era, it was not like that. So I think it is also not so correct to say that, these things were not considered important at all by Mahaprabhu. Maybe he didn't speak about it, or the Goswamis didn't talk about that too much, because in that society, all this was automatically followed. That's the point I'm again and again coming to. Does that make sense?
Yeah, bro, that makes sense. It is just that I mean, we are not following the Varnashram system today. So so then we follow whatever Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has said, then how his disciples and
but again, you try to understand, even if you may not be following it in that particular exact form, the concepts of third chapter, if you remember when we discussed, they are applicable to everyone in their daily life also, no matter what you are doing. If you remember, asatya lokaraksha guneshwaropi kartirtam. You remember Yamunacharya's description of the third chapter, essential aspects of karma yoga. If you see, nishkama karma, focused in not thinking that I am the doer, doing it for loka sangraha, benefit of society. These concepts are applicable in any occupation also you take. See, that is also there. See, if you see that way, karma yoga is much broader than even that external varnashram structure, because it talks about a mood when you work in this world, and that mood is very important no matter what you are doing. So I don't think we should again simplify it too much by making it a binary discussion about whether I've accepted or not accepted it. No, there's no question of not accepting it. Okay, it may be true that I may not be following the varna dharma, the way people followed 500 years back for whatever reason, but then the concepts of karma yoga are applicable in whatever you do today also. That is also there.
Right. Yeah.
Thinking about that. Correct. Asatya, nishkama karma, lokarakshaye, for benefit of people. Guneshwarope kartritam. Don't think that you are the doer. Sarveshwarava nisyokta. Offer all the fruits to the Supreme. Then that becomes karma yoga. That is the definition of karma yoga, which is applicable beyond the boundary of varnashram also. You need to remember that. So that we are not just caught in that structure. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, bro.
Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hare Hare. Next time we'll go to 8th chapter.